So I'm going to talk about trust. I am somebody who struggles with trust, to say the least. It's been a big struggle. I did grow up experiencing a lot of abuse as a child, and some more as an adult. And so trust is not something that comes easily to me. So um, it's taken me a really long time to figure out how to do that. And I will say this, I just want to give some practical insights on how to build trust and what that actually looks like. So I'm going to use the example of how it's worked between me and God, but that has transferred also into my relationships with other people. Uh, Side note, still working on it with other people. Doing real good in the God department, still trickling over into the people department. So just wanted to be totally transparent about that. However, with God, I really have conquered. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say conquered. I really have come a long way in the trust department. So when the Lord and I started building trust, I had this was when I was up in Toronto doing my internship up there. And, when I went up there, this was after I had been suicidal. I had had all sorts of really difficult things happening, massive depression. So I went up there and I'm doing this internship, and I realized I don't trust the Lord at all. I mean, I had massive fear, massive anxiety all the time, about everything. I was like this ball of knots inside of just really intense and really high strung and like, oh my God, and just trying to control everything all the time. I mean, you know, just to give you an idea, my sister will laugh at this, but she once gave me a sheriff's pin as a Christmas present because apparently, I don't remember saying this, but I guess I told her that it was my job. I felt like it was my job in the world to tell people when they're wrong. So, just to give you an idea, a little bit of a control issue, a little bit of a bossy issue back in the day. So, I was super high strung. And I was like, I used to spend time just sitting and journaling and talking to the Lord every morning. And one day he was like, do you trust me? And I said, well, not really. Why would I? Um, and I was like, I mean, I'd like to, but that's really not where we're at. And so he started me on this process, and he said, well, can you trust me for an hour? And I said, okay, I can try. And so it kind of started like that of like, okay, whatever you're worried about, whatever you're stressed about, whatever's on your mind, because I was worried and stressed about everything. So whatever my future was, or what was going to happen when the school was done, or, I had all this like constant worry, constant anxiety of like fear and what's going to happen, and, what's going to happen tomorrow, and what's going to happen in my life 6 months from now. And, I had to have everything under control. And if I didn't have an answer, I was always freaking out inside. So he said, okay, what that means practically is, can you just set that aside? Can you lay it down for an hour and be like, okay, I trust you for an hour, and I'm not going to worry about it or think about it. And I'm going to choose to lay that down for an hour. And so that's what I would do. And trust me, that hour kicks in and I pick it right back up. It doesn't just like, magically, it doesn't turn into this massive trust, right? It was hour by hour. And eventually that turned into, I could kind of set things down for 3 hours at a time, and then half a day, and then a full day. And then I could put stuff down for 2 days and a week. And now I've learned that practice of saying, okay, I'm just going to trust you for X amount of time before I think about it or worry about it or pick it back up again. And that was a step-by-step grueling process of getting myself there. And the Lord taught me a lot about having grace for myself in that time as well. So, I used to be an actress back in the day in my early 20s, and I've always loved film and movies and TV, and I love it. I just eat it up, right? So, for me, going to the movies is something that like kind of, it's great. It's a great release for me. It's a way for me to kind of just check out and go into this fantasy world, and I sometimes just get a reset from it. And So in the school of ministry, we didn't have any like TV or movies, or we didn't have any sort of entertainment, right? It was very kind of unplug from the world, plug into your spirit, and let's do this for a while. So we did happen to have the school about, I don't know, 2 miles away from a mall. So sometimes we would walk up there and, we'd walk around the mall, or we'd go to a movie or whatever. It wasn't like we couldn't go do stuff outside. We just didn't have that on the property itself. So I remember one day I was just spinning out. Like I could not get on the trust train with the Lord, like at all. And so he was like, just go see a movie. Like, just go. Do what's good for your soul and what's just going to like check you out of this. And it just reset me. And I came back and I was like, okay, let's regroup and let's refocus. And sometimes you got to have grace for yourself to just say, you know what? This is a hard road and I don't know how to walk it. And so I'm going to step out for a second, do my thing, and then we're going to come back. And there's grace from the Lord to do that. And there should be grace from yourself to do that. And so learning trust with the Lord has been very like step by step, and, things when I don't know something, I don't know what's going to happen. I still practice where I say, okay, I don't have an answer. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not working and I don't have a job. And, if I'm in that season of life. And so I say, okay, I'm going to trust you for 3 days with this, and we're not going to talk about it, and I'm not going to worry about it. And I'm just going to let it go. And I'm going to do my part and let the rest go and not stress about it. And then in 3 days from now, if there hasn't been a result, we're going to come back and have this chat. And, sometimes that can last for a month. I can even go, I've had that at times where I can just really let it go and really trust him because of all of the time and the effort that we've already put into step by step process of learning how to trust him and how to let go and not be so anxious or fearful. And so, now, my challenge now in life is to do that with people. And now it's translated into, give the benefit of the doubt. If you don't have an answer, if you don't know something, if you're uncertain about someone, assume the best until you have information that it's the worst. You can be cautious, and, I don't subscribe to like just trusting everyone automatically. That's not what I'm trying to say here. But when you don't have the information, maybe just assume the best and see what happens from there. And just know that trust is a step-by-step process that you gain over time. And it's not something, I've gotten to the place now in my faith where I just, I've lived a very crazy, fun, wild time with God of just, I traveled around the world without 1 cent to my name because I wanted to have that kind of wild trust experience with God where like, I'm going to step out on a limb. I'm going to see who you're going to be for me. Are you going to show up and be big in my life? And are you going to provide for me on this journey? And he totally did. And I have crazy, wild stories that I can tell you another time about that. But this started from me saying, okay, I'm going to trust you for an hour. And failing at that a lot, and saying, no, F you, I don't trust you. That's too scary. It took me a long time of making that conscious choice of doing that to get myself to a place that I'm going to travel the world for a year without a penny to my name and see what happens. Those seem like there's this huge leap, but it really wasn't, because every time I chose to trust the Lord for an hour or for a day or for 3 days, it was like a building block, and it built this thing for me, this huge platform of trust for me to stand on. So when I wanted to leap out into the world and kind of really fly and see, who is God going to be for me? There was something underneath me. There was something that I had built that I could lean on and rely on that took away the stress and anxiety and made it fun and exciting. I don't think the Lord is wanting us to be out there all anxious and worried. He's not asking you to go beyond what you're able to do right now, but he's probably asking you to maybe go 1 step beyond where you are and say, hey, let's stretch this a little bit and see if we can do this. And then this will feel norm to you, and this will feel easy, and this is comfortable. And then he'll say, okay, let's take it over here. Can you trust me with this? You're like, oh my God, I don't want to. And then eventually That becomes the norm. And you gain ground every single time that you do that so that you can get to the place that you can make these big leaps in life and not have massive fear or massive anxiety. I mean, there's going to be a little bit of fear. Anytime you jump with an unknown, there's going to be fear. So at some point, you're going to have to accept that you're a human being and the unknown is going to always be scary. So there's no way around it. There's no way to talk your way through it. There just isn't. A leap is a leap is a leap is a leap. And it's always going to be scary. It's always going to be fearful. And at some point, you just got to say, okay, let's do it. And you jump. But there is a way to get to that place where the fear is this big rather than this big. And that's with making a conscious choice every day of how much can I trust you and what will I trust you with and how long can I do that before I've got to come back and regroup and make that choice again. And I promise you, from my own experience, God will be faithful in that. And he will show up. And he'll show up and prove himself again and again and again and again. When Thomas basically said, I'll believe it when I see it, it wasn't from this place of attitude. It was, well, I mean, I don't know. I don't believe that was Jesus. I don't believe that he rose from the dead. I don't know, you guys. Like, if he comes to me and shows me that it's him, I'll believe it. That was him making one step and saying, okay, I'm open to you showing up. I'm open to that being true. But I'm unsure. And so you know what the Lord did? He was like, hey, buddy, it's me. Look at my hands. And Thomas was like, oh, okay, it is you. And that built trust. And oh, okay, it is him. And now I can step out into a new place. So I encourage you, wherever you are now, just make one step outside of your comfort zone. Just one. See if you can trust God for an hour, for a day, with something you haven't trusted him with before. And step out just a little bit. Not a lot. You don't need to do that. Just one step further than where you started. I wish you the best. I hope you do it. Let me know.